Move with me now.
And we're back. Despite the gains women have made in educational, health, and even political power, violence continues to impact women of all ages and all communities around the world. And while the numbers continue to climb at an alarming rate, here to shed some light on why this is becoming such an epidemic is Dr. Charles Meusberger. He is a certified psychiatrist from South Jersey Psychiatry. Welcome, Dr. Meusberger.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for
having
being
me.
with us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, cool. So let's go back to the first question. Your thoughts on women and aggression and domestic violence?
Very powerful topic, very serious issue. Pandemic, it's beyond a public health issue. It's now a civil rights and life issue. This is not something limited to America. Like I say, it's all over. The numbers are staggering. 1/3 of women on the planet Earth will be the recipients of some form of violence and aggression. Okay. That can come in many forms. In particular, the ones that happen based on male aggression, which has been studied. It's been studied often, and many facets have been utilized, sometimes even used to justify some of the aggression, are based on, I think, largely a lifestyle where men are trained to relate to the world using control and dominance on how to manage the world. And so it's beyond their own psychological issues or their own frustrations, including sexual frustrations. Right. It's deeper than that. Okay. And hence, when an individual male does something aggressive to an individual female, it's something that's almost learned.
So how can we address the issue? How can we really address the issue?
Well, identification of it is one. Women are victims for a lot of reasons. One, because of the fact there is cultural influence where a woman feels a little bit subservient to a male and so on. Familial, cultural, a lot of different factors. What to do with it is to recognize it and to give them permission to speak up. The forms of aggression can be anything from, the corporate offices where there are inequities in remunerations and job performance appraisal and so on, all the way up from childhood incest and sexual abuse, physical harm, death, slavery trades. Slavery, unfortunately, on the planet Earth is doing well. Wow. So to alter that requires, on a geopolitical level, certainly a lot of different things. But on an individual basis, which I can testify and give testimony because I see it every day in my office, women struggle, and the results are traumatic. And traumatic means that it's a stimulus that's well beyond your ability to cope with it. And traumatic is different for different people. What's traumatic for one isn't necessarily traumatic for other. But the results are powerful in terms of the pathologies, the depressions involved, the anxieties involved, the substance abuse involved, the self-mutilation involved, many, many different things where the self-defeating and ultimately self-destructive impulses become very powerful. It is about control. Right. The number one addiction on the planet Earth, in my humble opinion, is control. Okay. It comes in many forms. Right. Control is what a male ultimately learns to use, and the dominance, and ultimately a woman who's been on the receiving end of that will find her own way to control it or for it. Okay. Hence, the abused now become the abusers, including to themselves.
So why are people becoming more aggressive then?
Yeah, hard to know. Economic realities, instantaneous messaging across here and there, it incites things. It's hard to know the rationale for it specifically, but we do see the results for it and with it. And so that's what we want to focus on. What to do, how to preempt, how to prevent, how to educate, and what to do with it once it occurs. Again, there's isolation that's the result of that. Women tend to hide, and they don't feel they have a voice. They need to have a voice. They need to be heard. They need to understand that they can provide themselves with some self-compassion. Okay, be kind to you. You're not alone. This is a very, very prevalent problem. And some mindfulness, and understand that, a lifelong journey with self-criticism and self-punitive behaviors is not your legacy.
Now let's change gears here a little bit. Let's talk about post-traumatic stress disorder. Very important these days.
Well, it is. You hear about it based on a lot of the military experiences.
Correct,
But
yes.
you don't have to be in armed combat to have it. The PTS, if you take the D off for a minute,
Okay.
is going to result from any form of trauma, so post-traumatic stress. Now that has physiological changes that happen. Your immune
Right.
system gets involved and so on.
Correct.
The D comes into play when it's disorder and or dysfunction. Something's broken.
Right.
And what gets broken initially, or even stolen, is the ability of the victim, in this case the woman, to trust.
Okay.
When trust is taken away, especially violently,
Right.
especially by someone who you feel you're supposed to be able to trust, a parent,
Right.
a caregiver, a partner.
Right.
Oftentimes the domestic violence is by an intimate partner. The vast majority of that happens that way. So
Okay.
when trust is taken, control is what it gets replaced by. Okay, PTSD, the D now, the dysfunctional part
Right.
is because of the control and more control and more control. So trust goes out the window.
Okay.
If they can't trust, they can't trust themselves. If they
Right.
can't trust themselves, then they want to control the environment, the people around them,
Right.
in order to control something internal.
Okay.
The D is to just try to make it better, heal. How do you heal? Well, you replay. That's what the
Right.
D is. You replay. You replay
Right.
a nightmare, you replay a flashback. It's the mind's attempt to make it better.
Good. I hate to cut you off, but we have to go now
Okay,
right now.
okay.
But thank you so much for being here. And we'll be right back after the messages. Thank you.